Hi, this is Eran from sternfx.com, and in this tutorial I want to show you the new vector art to shape conversion in After Effects CS6. In previous version we had the capability of importing Illustrator, EPS and PDF files and also to keep the layer structure intact, but we could not modify them once imported into After Effects. Using the new capability, we can create a shape layer from vector art footage and then modify the parts of the structures of the artwork. I will show you a quick demonstration of how fun it is and how fast you can work with it and create sophisticated promos and introductions. But before doing so, I just want to note that there are following issues or limitations which you have to be aware of. First is, not all the features of Illustrator files are currently preserved. For example, opacity, images and gradients are not supported and may show up as a 50% gray shapes. Also, converted shapes ignore the pixel aspect ratio which was defined in the interpret footage dialog box. And files with thousands of paths may import very slowly, so you can see a visual feedback while this is happening. Also note that the menu command works on a single selected layer at a time. So if you import file as a composition, you cannot convert all those layers in one path. You have to select the footage and then use the command to convert the single footage to shape each time. However, it is very sophisticated and will allow us to create some exciting motion graphic work. So let's see how it is done. In this open composition, I already placed a background shape layer, which is a simple rectangle, and I've animated the gradient fill in terms of colors, so it will look different in the first and the last frame. Now I'm going to use this skull colors image. I'm going to open it in the footage viewer so you can see that it is a complex shape and we have thousands of paths. However, I didn't use gradients, so everything should work as expected. I'm going to drag it to my timeline here, and in order to convert it, you can right click and choose Create Shapes from a vector layer. Now, since this is a complex document with hundreds or maybe thousands of paths, it will just take a moment to do so. And here is the result, very impressive. Before I will continue further, I just want to check if the translation was good. So I'm going to take a snapshot and then hide the mask and shape path visibility and then just compare it to the original artwork. And to my eyes, it looks like the conversion was 100% accurate. So let's select it and see what we can do with it. In this case, I want to extract the outline, the boundary of this skull and the content itself. So I just want to identify where this shape is. I'm going to zoom into my image, open up the contents, and then I'm going to select only the parts which I'm interested in. And this seems to be group number 3. So I want to split this to a different shape layer. I'm going to turn off the visibility for it just to make sure that I have the right selection. And I just want to show you how many paths and groups we have from this image. Everything was created automatically using this new feature. Alright, so now I just want to extract it and actually remove it for a different animation. I'm going to select it and then go to Edit and select Copy. And now I'm going to turn off the eye for this group. And under Layer, I'm going to create a new shape layer. This is an empty shape layer, which now I can paste the image or the shapes that I just copied from my original design. Since I paste it here, it comes with a different location and anchor point. So I just have to move it in place to the correct position. And I'm just going to verify it by turning on and off the eye for the original artwork. And I think that I have it in place. So I'm just going to rename it Skull Contour. Now I'm going to turn off temporarily the eye for it. And I just want to control the other shapes. I'm going to the Add menu and let's add a Wiggle Transform operator for everything here. This will create an automatic wiggle animation for all the groups above it. In order to allow it to move, we need to open the Wiggle Transform, and under the transform, we need to change the position, scale, and rotation, the values that we want. So I'm going to allow it to move a little bit in place, but before doing so, I just want to animate it. So here I set 2 markers which will help me to match this animation to the soundtrack that I already placed in this timeline. I'm going to drag my cursor to the end marker and create keyframes for position, scale, and rotation, which will hold these values in place. And then at the first frame, I'm going to allow the wiggle to move from the position point of view 500 pixels in each direction. And I'm going to just create a quick ramp preview just so you can see what I've managed to do here. This is amazing. Let's do the same for scale. I'm going to allow it to grow and shrink 100% and maybe add 45 degrees. And now let's select the last keyframes here and right click on them and convert them to an easy ease in, so we'll have a finer animation at the end. Once again, I'm going to preview this and you already see where we are going with it. This is just amazing. Imagine how much time it will take you to do this without this new command. All right, let's now deal with the skull contour that we generated. I want to create a different math operation, a different animation to this path. And I'm just searching for the correct point in time. So let's say here, this is where we will generate the animation. So once again, I'm going to the Add menu, and this time I'm going to choose Trim Path. Now Trim Path will allow us to basically draw the path, but since we have only a fill here, it behaves a little bit weird. So we'll have to take care at this first. So I'm going to drill down the group 3 and then go down the list here until I can identify the fill itself. And for the moment, let's reduce the opacity to 0 so we don't have any fill in the scene. Now I'm going to go to the Add menu once again and add a stroke to this shape. Open up the stroke properties and let's choose a black color to it. And once we have only the stroke selected, we can return to the trim path and then play only with the end value. I will generate keyframes just for this value. So maybe 1 here and 1 at the end from 0 to 100. This will fill the stroke actually, or trim the stroke, and will give us the desired result. However, I do wish to change it from simultaneously to individually, which will generate an interesting result drawing each one of these lines individually. And you can see while I'm scrubbing my timeline how it's going to look. Now we need to get back to the original fill, so let's click and add a keyframe for the opacity, move 10 frames ahead in the timeline and bring it back all the way to 100. And I might want to go back to the stroke and reduce it to just 1 pixel so it will match the original artwork as much as possible. That's it. Now I'm just going to press U, select the end keyframes here and press Shift plus F9 to convert them to an easy ease animation. And let's create another ramp preview to watch what we have so far. And I think that we are in a good place. Remember that everything is going to look much better if you will enable motion blur for the layers and for the comp itself. The result will look even more interesting. So let's see how it looks with motion blur enabled. Well, I think it looks great. And in order to spice it up, let's add a null object to the scene and parent both layers to it in order to create a simple scale animation. So I'm going to scale this null from 100% to say 135. And I'm going to unshine my text layer here because I already have some kind of information. This guy, the name of him is Diamond Scully. This helps me see that the skull is not in the right place. So I'm once again going to use my null object. I'm going to press A in order to isolate the anchor point and maybe just move it up 45 pixels so it will be at the correct position. Once again, I'm going to convert this last keyframe to an easy ease in for a smoother animation. And that's it, guys. Now let's enable our sound effects and move to full screen and watch the final preview of this Diamond Scully animation. And so you've seen how easy it was to take a vector art, convert it to After Effects native shapes, add some math operation, and quickly create this entertaining opener. So hopefully you can see the potential that we have here. I'm just going to mention that you can use the shapes with the new Ray Tracer 3D engine, which means that we can also extract them and create some wonderful 3D beveled logos and artworks. Give it a try, and until next time we'll meet, this is Eran Stern saying goodbye.